This is a story first related to me by a fairly aged labourer, Willie McMullen, when we were working on a scheme back in the early 1980s. Willie was probably about my age now, though he seemed quite decrepit to me at the time, which is worrying. And he tended to potter around the building sites carrying minimal loads. As far as I know, it's a true story, in essence. Major Sandy. One Saturday in May 1935, there was a hubbub of excitement in the public bar of the Selkirk Hotel in Kirkcudbright. For Major Alexander Sandy McDonald Fraser was due to take his annual holiday at the Selkirk. Major Sandy was a retired officer of the Seaforth Highlanders, originally from Thomson in the far north of the country, who had served with some distinction at Ypres, the Somme and Arras, before being brought home to recuperate at a large house on the outskirts of Kirkcudbright, which had been commandeered for the purpose. He had seen out the war at the hospital, venturing into town as he became more confident, and became a popular figure with the ladies and children of the borough, striding along the pavements in his kilt khaki jacket with several medal ribbons and Sam Brown belt. So popular was he that before the armistice was declared, he had married the only daughter of Mr. Alistair Johnson, a leading solicitor in the county, and thereafter whisked her off to Edinburgh, where he himself settled into the role of chartered accountant in a firm owned by a distant relative. Having made a very good living for 15 years or so, and inherited the Johnson family's wealth following the death of his father-in-law and shortly thereafter his wife, Major Sandy had retired and now occupied himself with the current affairs of the day. Major Sandy continued to wear the kilt of the Seaforth Highlanders, but now combined it with a tweed jacket and tie, a gleaming white shirt and an unbadged tam o' shanter. He was proud of the Seaforth as a regiment with a no truck with the British Army, seeing it as a weapon of the suppression of the Scottish people by the British state. For Sandy had become a member first of the Scottish Party and just the year before the new Scottish National Party. His visits to Kirkcudbright were indeed partially a holiday, but he also saw them as an opportunity to spread the message of hope for the future to what he described confidentially in Edinburgh as a fairly moribund collection of shopkeepers and farmers. His favourite hunting ground, for he recognised there was at least some potential of turning such working classes as could be found in rural Scotland, was the public bar of the Selkirk Arms and similar establishments in the county's other towns. On the day in question, men lined the bar and were seated on benches and stools round the two wooden tables aligned with the frosted windows on either side of the door to the street. Willie, who was then the potboy, had stationed himself at that door, and from St Mary's Street he heard children's voices almost drowning out the crisp clicks of seg brogues on the pavement as Major Sandy approached. The footsteps halted briefly as the Major swung round the corner onto the High Street, and there was a shimmer of coinage on the street which assorted squealing children dashed, heedless of traffic, for of course in those days there was very little danger from motorised vehicles on what remained essentially the medieval street. Willie ducked back inside the vestibule, opened the door and slid into the bar with a hoarse whisper of, "He's here!" He slid under the bar hatch and stood in the passageway, connecting to the main hotel behind Geordie Kelly the barman. The door swung open and Major Sandy was framed in the dusty sunlight pouring in from the early summer's day. "Good morning, gentlemen," he boomed in the accent acquired at Robert Norton's school in Aberdeen and honed in the military. I hope the day finds you all well." "Och aye, sir, very well, though times are not what they were," was the most vocal response to emerge from the general welcome. Major Sandy strode inwards, allowing the door to swing sharply back behind him. With fists at his waist, he surveyed his audience and threw back his head. "Well, gentlemen, we must see what we can do about that. Scotland is in a sorry state, and the only way to resolve this is for us to take control of our own affairs. But in the meantime, Geordie, a round of drinks for us all. Good Scotch whisky for good Scotch men." Geordie let out an obsequious loud, "Aye, sir," racked up a row of glasses at the bar, and began pouring Bladnoch whisky into them. This had the dual benefit of being local and considerably more expensive than the other options available behind the Selkirk's bar. Glasses were raised and a toast was given first to Major Sandy and then by Major Sandy to Scotland and its downtrodden people, the latter being enthusiastically repeated by the various men in the room, including, noted Willie, a fair proportion of declared Unionist and Liberal Party members. The Major procured an all-round, inquiring after the businesses with which he remained familiar in the town and tutting as he learned that one or other had ceased to function, no doubt due, he declared, to the siphoning off of our wealth to the support of parasites in London. This statement was greeted with a short, stunned silence before an enthusiastic echo of, "Aye, parasites, it's what they are, recht enough," began to ripple round the wooden panelling. The Major held forth for a good half hour on the evils of the British banking sector and its vested interest, the need to restore Scotland's Celtic culture, which was a pure expression of our country's national identity, and his plans for state-run companies in an independent Scotland, which would be run on highly disciplined lines for the good of us all. Willie noted some raised eyebrows at this particular line of argument, but they were soon brought down again as Major Sandy ordered yet another round of drinks. "Gentlemen," he blared, bringing the general din to a halt, "it is grand to be back here in the ancient Stuart way of Kirkcudbright, a title which, as you know, goes back to the Douglases who fought alongside the Bruce to free our beleaguered land from the damned English." A general chorus of "Aye, damned English" was heard, interspersed with at least one "Douglas way." "Gentlemen, together we will bring back the spirit of the Bruce and the Black Douglas, of Wallace and Kirkpatrick. Scotland shall be free once more. A second Scottish Renaissance will come if we maintain faith in Scotland's party. In the words of the bard, by oppression's woes and pains, by your sons in servile chains, we will drain our dearest veins, but they shall be free. Are you with me?" "Aye, sir, aye, you're damned right, sir. That's surely the way of it, sir." And various other affirmations of the highly charged words were slugged in and among the layers of smoke which hung in the bar room's now muggy air. "Good men all! Geordie, another round for these fine Scottish free men." Major Sandy slapped a number of large notes on the bar as he said this. "Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to know you all, and I look forward to our meeting again. In the meantime, keep the faith in Scotia." He drained his own glass, swung on his heel, and breezed out of the door again, the sound of his segs echoing back down the street and round the corner, fading into the distance, pursued once more by a gradually increasing volume of childish cries. Charlie Davidson swirled the blood enough left in his glass and eyed it with a mixture of delight and derision. "Owen's a daft bugger," he announced, "but he likes the grand whisky." There was another general echo of the sentiment as the assembled crowd of cynics joined Charlie in draining their glasses.